Economic nationalism is a situation in which a country tries to protect its own economy by reducing the number of imports and investments from other countries. The simple meaning that may be given to economic nationalism, according to Renato Constantino, is a nation's aspiration, desire, and willingness to improve its material and cultural conditions through its own talents, resources, and sustained labor, and for the benefit of the whole national community. Constantino said that the force that will bring the Philippines to its economic goal is nationalism, because Filipinos have achieved political independence by asserting aspiration to become a free and independent nation. A colonial pattern in the economy was conceived and practiced by non-Filipinos for reasons other than for own self-interest.
During the year 1934, from the approval of President Roosevelt on the Tydings-Mcduffie Law, or the Philippine Independence Act, which authorized the Philippine legislature to assemble a constitutional convention in order to create a draft of the Constitution for the Philippines. A year after, President Roosevelt gave approval of the Constitution, which then became the 1935 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines. This provided a legal basis of the government of Commonwealth that became the transition before giving the independence of the Philippines under the hands of the Americans. The 1935 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines provided an article tackling the economic independence of the Philippines. This constitution limits the possession to the Filipino citizens and is owned by the state in terms of agricultural lands, businesses, corporation, and exploitation of natural resources. This can be seen in the Article 13, Conservation and Utilization of Natural Resources. Moreover, the government of the Philippines shall be patterned with the government of America. The 1935 Constitution includes the following: a bicameral legislature composed of a Senate and a House of Representatives. The President is to be elected to a 4-year term together with a Vice President, without re-election. Rights of suffrage by male citizens of the Philippines who are 21 years old of age or over and are able to read and write. Extension of the right of suffrage to women within 2 years after the adoption of the Constitution.
The step toward self-governance by the Philippines was delayed by the Japanese during the World War II against the United States. On December 8, 1941, the Japanese successfully occupied the Commonwealth of the Philippines, which started the rule of Japan in the country. During the year 1945, the Philippines was finally cut free from Japanese occupation. Those 3 years of violence and mistreating of the Japanese have been considered to be one of the darkest events in all of Philippine history. With the return of General Douglas MacArthur, the Filipinos at the time were joyful as MacArthur finally completed his promise, uttering his famous lines,
"I shall return."
On June 4, 1945, the Philippines was finally declared to be liberated, ending the Japanese rule. With Manila being destroyed, the need for money and construction materials was evident. There was only one place to turn for help: the United States sent Millard E. Tydings to assess the situation and determine the money needed for reconstruction. Because of the report of Tydings, on the 30th of April 1946, the United States established the Philippine Rehabilitation Act, or the Tydings Act of 1946. This granted the Philippines approximately $820 million for reconstruction and various trade privileges, which lasted for more than 2 decades.
The Bell Act was approved by the Philippine legislature on July 2, 2 days before independence. The parity clause, however, required an amendment relating to the 1935 Constitution's 13th article, which reserved the exploitation of natural resources for Filipinos. This amendment could be obtained only with the approval of 3/4 of the members of the House and Senate and a plebiscite. Direct U.S. colonial rule lasted from 1898 to 1946, but the Americans ensured their control over the Philippine economy even after this with various U.S. biased treaties and laws. The most brazen was in giving American corporations and citizens the same rights and privileges as Filipinos. This was achieved through the 1946 USRP Treaty of General Relations and the infamous Parity Amendment to the Philippine Constitution in 1947, which was reiterated and expanded by the Langley Agreement in 1954. Until as late as 1947, American monopoly capitalists would exploit natural resources and engage in public utilities and other industries as if they were Filipinos.
The Philippines after World War II was characterized by the rise of the nationalist movement. The era was associated with a public declaration for self-determination and nation building. In the political economic arena, the movement was equated with demands for economic protectionism, as there were calls in government to assert its political independence by enacting nationalistic policies. The after effect was a deluge of nationalization bills filed in Congress. One of these bills that were perceived as contentious was the nationalization of the retail trade sector. In 1954, the Retail Trade Nationalization was enacted. It is an act to regulate the retail business. The act states that no person who is not a citizen of the Philippines and no association, partnership, or corporation of the capital of which is not wholly owned by the citizens of the Philippines shall engage directly or indirectly in the retail business. Its purpose was to keep foreign investors away from the country in order to promote the country's resourcefulness in using the materials available in the Philippines. Upon the enactment of RA number 8762, known as the Retail Trade Liberalization Act in 2000, the stringent rules on retail businesses were relaxed to promote consumer welfare in attracting and welcoming productive investment, and to become globally competitive through the liberalization of the retail sector. The retail trade nationalization was eventually changed because the protectionist policy was no longer in tune as events further progressed on. Many people began to see its ineffectiveness, and the only way to make the Philippines efficient in trading again is to attract foreign investors and to embrace free trade, lifting the protectionist policy and accepting liberalization to further make the economy of the Philippines grow.
From Carlos P. Garcia's third State of the Nation address regarding the Filipino First policy, it is concluded that in light of improving the Philippines' foreign trade, this policy was therefore designed to regain economic independence. This further developed the Philippines' local market as they made great efforts to balance the economic development among the rural regions of the country. The policy also improved development with foreign markets. Significant developments were evident with the fact that half of the Philippines' trade was now conducted with countries other than the United States. These countries include Germany, Japan, and many more. These developments envision the Philippines to be independent with their own foreign markets, to establish more connections with different foreign countries, and promote local ventures to improve our economic status and to regain economic independence.
The incessant exploitation of natural resources in the Philippines is crippling the country's rainforest and biodiversity, as well as robbing indigenous people of their livelihoods, which mirrors the exploitation that happened in 1946.